I thought the webpage was just a prank, a joke, maybe even a creepypasta. But now, I find myself blood on my hands and splattered all over my face, most likely facing jail time as well. I look back at all the stupid little decisions that I made that led to this, and I try to explain to myself how my life was ruined by a site in the dark web. I was a very angsty, angry 16-year-old here in my Mediterranean town. I had what I would largely consider a boring life. The world of my school, my family, and society in general was very repetitive and boring to me. When I was a young kid, the world was more fun, you know? I remember putting a toy spider inside the cereal box and watch as my parents freak out in terror. I continued my streak of pranks well into my teen years. I would even say they escalated big time. My pranks never really had ill intent, you know? I just wanted to have some fun. However, I messed up in high school. I played a prank on my teacher regarding drugs. It wasn't actual drugs, mind you. I just wanted to scare my teacher into thinking that we were accusing him of being a drug dealer. It was a dumb idea. In hindsight, instead of laughing with me, they expelled me. I felt angry and bitter at the world. How can they not see that humor is the only thing that makes the world bearable? I had no remorse. I didn't go too far. Too far didn't exist for me. I made a living working part-time at a theme park, which paid reasonably well in my country. Then at night, I would spend my time obsessively researching cryptocurrencies, which was once worth nothing, really. A few years after I invested, I got lucky with Bitcoin. My crypto wallet exploded in value, and now I had spending power, more than 10 times my initial investment. My parents never knew about my money, so I was actually free to spend it on things that don't need their permission at all. So naturally, I went to the dark web. I had heard that in the dark web, you can buy anything on it, so I was browsing through the catalog on a shady website. There were common things like children's toys, pirated videos, used combs. Who buys those? Then, I saw the creepier side of the page. Selling guns, services of hitmen for sale, and then I came across a category labeled children. I laughed out loud. Turns out people in the dark web also have a sense of humor. For surely no one could be selling children, right? So I clicked it, and to my surprise, pictures of children in chains were displayed before me. It honestly looked photoshopped though, so I kinda laughed at it. A message that read, "See anything you like," popped up by the side of the website. At the time, I didn't realize the magnitude of the messed up situation that I was in. I thought it was all just dumb fun, so I decided to play along and replied with a message. I said, "Yeah, I want to see some good stuff." I pretended that I was a middle-aged man living alone on my retirement fund. He clearly bought my story while I laughed alone in my room. The man on the other end quickly replied with, "How many would you like to buy?" I began to laugh, as I thought he couldn't be serious about this, so I responded with, "All of them." The man then replied with, "That's a lot of money. Do you have all the cash?" Seeing this made me get a funny idea, as I told him, "I'd like to see all the goods first before paying." A few minutes passed and the man on the other end replied with, "If you give a 25% down payment, I can bring the goods. and then you need to pay me the rest in unmarked bills. Now, my country isn't the richest, it doesn't have the most sophisticated intelligence system, and there are indeed a lot of cases of child trafficking. But this was clearly a joke, right? It was a big ask for what is obviously a prank, but I shelled out quite a lot of money from my crypto wallet to make the transaction. He gave me a timestamp in my time zone, 8 p.m. next Wednesday, for the final delivery and payment. He repeated his instruction, 75% of the total cost in unmarked bills. He also said that he will send his guy to ensure that the process is smooth. Wow, this guy is really taking this seriously. I assumed that after I pay the down payment, the prank is over, but no, he kept going. I respect this dedication to a joke. Or at least that's what I thought it was. My family was out to watch some cheesy, locally made romantic comedy. I just wasn't interested. And besides, today was the day my supposed package would arrive. 8 p.m. rolls along and nothing happened. 8:30, still nothing. I got bored and started playing Among Us on my PC. While I was typing insults to people, I heard the sound of a van leaving our street. Then, I heard what sounded like clanging sounds in our backyard near the shed. I go out to our backyard, I turn on the lights, and I froze, absolutely horrified. There were 3 kids there, 2 boys and a girl, all around the age of 10. They looked battered, starved, and dirty. As I walked closer to them, I realized that one of the children had a bloody note pinned into his skin using pushpins. I got close enough to read the words on the paper that read, "As promised, the goods have been delivered for inspection. Get your money now. We'll be back in 30 minutes." I began to have a mini breakdown as my 16-year-old mind couldn't handle it. 1,000 questions run through my mind as I asked myself, how did he find my address? And what am I going to do with 3 kids? As I stood there, baffled, I finally realized that I had gone too far, because while I thought what I did was just a stupid joke, I didn't think that I was actually playing with dangerous things that I couldn't control. Before I could even decide on what I was going to do next, I heard my parents roll up into the driveway, so I panicked and took the children by the chains and led them to the shed at the back of my house. The children, who all looked dead inside, never said a word as they calmly followed me into the shed. I soon realized that these children had been beaten into submission, and they were turned into something less than human beings, as they all behaved like trained pets. What do? I thought about calling the cops, but I was scared as I thought that I would be an accomplice to something illegal. I also couldn't tell my parents because due to all my pranks, I was already on thin ice with them. I went on the dark web and tried to reach out to the man who had brought the children, but the website was down. I thought about setting them free, but I knew that would be a bad idea. I can't just randomly transform my bitcoins into cash. It's not that easy. I had to break these kids out of their chains. In the shed, there was a table with tools. I searched for what I could use: hammers, drills, and saw it. A handheld hacksaw that my dad uses all the time. It's strong enough to cut through some metals. I bring the kids closer to it and I start hacking on the girl's chains until it starts getting red hot, and then I have to stop. Then, the door of the shed slowly opened. Oh no, I have to explain to my mom or dad. I turned around and there was a man in a hoodie. He asked me Where is the man who ordered the goods? I remember that I claimed that I was a middle-aged man. I had to fess up to my crime. I said it was me. The man then looked at me in annoyance and said, "Don't make me laugh, kid. Call the owner and get out of here before I get mad." I then replied with, "It was me. I'm serious. I was just playing a dumb prank and I never thought all of this would happen, so..." Before I could finish, the man cut me off by saying, "So you're telling me that you're the one who ordered these goods, and the whole thing was a prank?" I said, "Yes, and I'm sorry, but I think we should just let the children go and forget..." Before I could finish, searing pain rushed through my leg as I fell to the floor. Confused, it took me a while to realize that I had been shot. As I laid on the floor bleeding, the man picked me up and said, "Well, since this was just a waste of time, I guess I'd take you instead, and ask your father to pay me for all the time and effort that I wasted, you stupid kid." He bent down to get me, holding onto the wound, causing me to scream in pain. I knew I was a goner. Then, I saw it. Chains wrapping around his neck. He screams as the chain was still red from getting hacksawed. The little girl, bless her soul, was trying to strangle him. The two other boys, mustering any strength they had left in them, joined in, and now 3 kids were doing it. He struggled and struggled, hitting the table, causing a hammer to fall. Despite the pain in my now bleeding leg, I crawled to it, grabbed the hammer, and swung it at the guy's face, over and over. Now, I find myself, blood on my hands, and splattered all over my face. Most likely facing jail time as well. Indeed, my court hearing will be in mid-2022. Child trafficking and manslaughter. The second one will probably be dismissed, but the first one is tricky. I don't know if I will ever be free. But at least, those poor kids, who are now in the foster care system, will be. I just hope that they don't grow up as messed up as me.